this will be quite a different video than what I usually make. And from the title of the video, it will obviously be about the Furry Fandom, which I'm actually part of. Well, kinda. It has a complicated identity. I'm going to talk about my personal experience of the Furry Fandom and my opinion about this entire burning chaos of a fandom, which I would like to hear your opinion about regardless if you're furry or anti-furry or someone that's just curious. But to move on, I will start going over people I've seen with my own eyes that have done bad stuff I'm going to share. Then later to NSFW stuff, which I will talk about hypersexuality and addiction. After that is the zoo stuff, and then finally about the anti-furries and the pro-furries. I have wanted to make this video for a while now and now decided it is time for it. But enough of the rambling and start with the first topic. So let's start with what everyone likes on the internet. Drama. So if you think I'm here to speak about jerks like Jason Agex, Kero the Duck, Garo, Narcissus, or anyone like that, no. What I'm actually going to talk about is people you very likely never knew about. It is what I have myself witnessed I'm going to share with you. So before I begin, it is important not to do any kind of witch hunt or harassment against these individuals. The only thing you would do is be a bad person yourself. I just want to give out a public well-deserved criticism these people need, and to show you can't get away with saying or doing anything you want on the internet. And if any of you people mentioned and watch this, there's no one to blame except yourself. You should have known better. But let's begin. A year ago there was a guy called Alto who wanted to commission explicit art from my friend Furry Draws with his Pegasus horse creature. Furry would basically do most things to get money in that time, so he accepted. He found out that Furry was formerly a girl. He's now a trans man. Nothing that much happened afterwards until he asked this. As I said, it's pretty cute. With that, I'm sure you have a pretty hot body too. Of course, Furry is a dragon after all. He's certain to be quite hot. Yeah, I think it's obvious you know what happened. He asked her for nudes. Even though Furry said he has a boyfriend, he still wanted to see. What the fuck? It isn't that bad or anything, but it can be forgiven. But what happened next is way worse. So moving on a little, he said this. But you love horse... Horse what, Alto? Is it referring to the commission? Well, I hope it is referring to the commission. Furry said he's been riding horses since he was 9. The fact you rode horses and probably looked at some horse... And how it was with you? Exactly how I described it. But if you had a zoo thought, rest assured, I don't mind that. Yeah, at that point I think you can connect the pieces, but let's get going. To be clear, I never touched a real animal. Same for me, I'm just zoo friendly. I have no problem with this kind of thing. For some reason, I like to discover strange mentalities. So, Alto, why did you say it with quotes? And what do you exactly mean with zoo friendly? You like to go to the zoo? Assuming from your profile picture, I think you would enjoy looking at the zebras the most. I wonder what people will think of you watching this video, you saying zoo friendly, Therian. Man, I don't understand how someone can fuck up so quickly. Oh my god. It also disturbs me to think about him thinking for some reason that Furry would tolerate this, and it also makes you wonder what he's talking about with his friends. Now I will talk about my experience with a guy called Furfilla. Furfilla added me in Discord. I knew about this guy before from Furry. What I heard from Furry, I approached Furfilla with caution, since he was acting hypersexual, and asked people why others blocked him. Here's my advice. Don't try to approach someone if they blocked you. It would just make it even less likely for them to unblock you. So not much happened in the first interaction. He talked about art and his character, but next time he had an interaction with me, he asked about if I played games. I answered with sarcasm, and then he quickly out of nowhere asked if I was sub or dom. I ignored the question, and then he asked again. I said I'm not going to answer, and then he said, what if he wanted to ride my dragon's Like, the thing is that we barely had any conversation, and I obviously showed no interest. Like, imagine if someone walks up into real life and one of the first things he asks if he can ride your I wrote against this behavior, and then he asked about getting art. I said no. He said he's not good at socializing. I asked if he had autism, and he said yes, and he mentioned art again. And then later he mentioned art again for the third time. As we scroll down, very surprisingly, this time he mentioned art with my character for the fourth time. And the final fifth time he mentioned art again. In a normal case like this, I would blur this individual, and because I just feel like whatever. This is weird. It is inappropriate behavior and all. In the end, it doesn't really matter to me. But what I found out next is what disturbed me. What I found is inexcusable. I got a screenshot from someone who gave me a post from a journal. The individual wrote about commission naughty art when he was underage. And I have to ask how this person even got that much money to do it to begin with when you've been underage. Commissions are expensive. I would only get a substantial income to afford something like that when I was 18 or something in a gymnasium. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. If we scroll down, we can see Furfilla again saying, I have heard Japan age 12 is probably the minimum I say that can be acceptable. In terms of 12 being minimum, I guess to some extent 12. 12? Are you serious? I was a Minecraft kid at that age. In my opinion, I'd say if things aren't physical, no, I'm not reading more of this. And some other comments here also concern me. Like, what is this comment? If you knew he was underage, why didn't you do anything? And also, whoever you are, thank you for being the only reasonable person here. I don't understand why consent is frowned upon. You really want to know why? I guess it should be quite obvious, but here we go. Here's 2 good reasons. 1, it is really creepy that an adult like you is talking about anything sexual under the age of 18. It is really weird that you even are thinking about it. It just makes it suspicious to think you might do something appropriate with a minor. 2, consent can be talked about, but only by professionals that work in the psychology field, because the human brain is the most complicated part of the human body. These people are the only ones that know this answer better than anyone else. As an example, a hospital picks up a random person from the street, then they expect him to do a heart surgery with no experience. Do you think he can do it? No. The exact same thing is applied here. Do not talk about something you don't understand, and especially not publicly anything related to under 18 sexually. It is just disturbing and no fulfill. I won't get that with you. Angel Phones is a person I've seen a bit everywhere on FA. People's experience with her, I have heard it has been a little bit weird, but other than that, not much out of the ordinary. There was a detailed Google Doc exposing her which was calling her out for being a Sue and for toxic behavior. She tried to convince everyone she isn't a Sue, but on her Twitter she said this: "As much I wish I could have a dog mount me." The old young child me used to let cats lick. Did it not ever come to this person here like, hey, maybe saying something like this publicly is not the best idea? And whoever responded with this comment, what is wrong with you? You want to be at him? Still am. You know, it is like Dr. Disrespect situation. Just one tweet like this ruined everything. Whatever she would say, there was no turning back now. People don't forget this kind of stuff, you know. She then later tried her hardest to convince everyone she wasn't a Sue. As an example, she used her own dragon as a case, people being mad at her for having not the art of her own dragon, which has nothing to do with the case at all. Address the tweet you made, Angel. Or what she wrote privately, she was one, and on Discord she wrote she has not done since 2006. Well, that doesn't really help your case, does it? Like, it just goes downhill and just gets worse. She's just being toxic, manipulative, and selfish. Like, many of them on her block list were minors that blocked her. I also agree with this statement. Why are most of these minors? There is no proof there have been actually inappropriate interactions, but it doesn't really matter. She's just making it worse and worse for herself. But like, the best thing she could do was just being quiet. Hey, she even blocked my friend Furry Vs for whatever reason that did not even engage in this drama to begin with, and tried to say he was the one that blocked her. Like, what are you seriously doing? There's not much that can be said about this person. She's just making her own downfall without realizing it. And it all started with when she thought it was a good idea to post this on Twitter. Wow, just wow. The next person I will talk about is someone called Achnox. It all started with him wanted gay, not the art, with a person that requested to be blurred and another person that wanted the same thing. They told him no, and in most cases it should end there, but for Ark he didn't accept no as an answer. Even though they tried to be friendly with him and showing there was a limit he was able to do, he still pushed for it. And also in all of this, Ark contacted his mother. Yes, his actual mother, to try to convince him to get his gay art, and his mother apparently actually did it and also had voice call with them. Okay, that is one of the most unhinged things I have ever heard. What the actual fuck? What is there even for me to say to this? Just why? Asking your mother and then she actually does it. Obviously, they still said no. He was not satisfied by their response and decided to leave their friendship. Quite an immature response, but you know, whatever. After that, they moved on from each other. Well, that is what they thought Ark did. Things then started to get creepy. On their blog site, they started to receive an excessive amount of views from his IP, so they blocked it. And he then used a VPN and blocked that too. He then tried to watch the art streams. They blocked him there too. And he tried to make alt accounts, but also blocked those. He then also went for making fake Discord accounts to attempt joining their server. All they wanted was him to stop trying to interact with them. But you know, some people are just, yeah, maybe try contacting your mother again. He then started to manipulate manipulate others to tell them that they was defaming him. Because of all his constant stalking, they sent a cease and desist because they had enough with this. He also stole and copied design from them and commissioned art with their characters without their consent. And of course it was in SFW. They quickly dealt with it and it was deleted, but shortly after it happened again. Used their characters without their consent. At this point they had enough. They publicly called out Ark and the story quickly ended there since he got banned from FA and private list Widow. Since then nothing else has happened. So what can we learn from this? Well, it should be obvious. No is a no. If someone says no, it shouldn't be hard to accept. Otherwise you act like a preschool child. Also, if you're an artist, do always check if the other owner of the OC have agreed to this. Even how believable you think the person is, always check just in case. And what's more? Yes, obviously, don't stalk people. There is a dragon artist called Scalie. He got commission from someone called Vir, who also has a good relation with Scalie, to draw a private commission someone else dragon OC, and the person owning this character was Moonsky. Moonsky is also another dragon artist. Anyway, about the commission, Vir paid a lot for this art piece. He paid 1,000 euro. Why? Yeah, just why? It is one thing when a commissioner requests something like this, but when the actual artist goes through with it, that is the insane part. But how Moonsky actually found this out was by her friend who was good friends with both. Scalie shared this picture with this person. He then later sent it to Moonsky since he was understandably disgusted. The moment Moonsky found out, she got real angry. But before I go to that was not the end of it. No. It gets worse. He also talked with the commissioner Vir about this. Vir showed the same image but with a generic light fury, which is supposed to be the normal version. He pushed on Vir, pretending he was friendly with Vir and asked about the Moonsky OC version. At first, Vir pretended like he knew nothing about it, but he then quickly admitted that yes, he commissioned it. He also found out more that Vir has a thing for and also others' characters without them knowing. Because Vir thought and trusted him, he wouldn't expose him for this disgusting behavior. He then had another perverted idea mentioned to him, which his character Vir and also his character would abuse, and then later also Moonsky's character, also her being a virgin. Vir also said he doesn't value her and uses her as a person of time. After that, he stopped writing to Vir. When Vir found out he was exposed, he then later apologized with a text which didn't help his case really, and he disappeared for a moment. Moonsky, Misa and him had a phone call with Scalie. At first Scalie was quite upset that he got exposed, but his tone quickly changed until he realized the dire situation he was in, and it instead became a civil and constructive conversation. To summarize, he told him he just did it for the money and didn't expect it would be exposed, and apologized. One thing to just mention is that he maybe didn't do this just for money. There's some evidence to suggest that he didn't do this just for money, but we can't really confirm that. But in the end, that apology doesn't mean much since Vir later reappeared sometime later and Scalie got back in contact with Vir again. So in the end, Scalie didn't change much, and because Scalie is still in contact with Vir, you will never know if they learned anything to begin with. Oh boy, this one I have to say, it wasn't the most moral, creepy or disgusting one, but it was the most psychological fucked one. Because these people were friends with each other, but everything got ruined by Vir, who valued his dark fantasies over friendship. So Vir, if you're watching this, I have only one thing to say to you, and I say with full certainty from what I have seen. You're an addict. You have to step away from it and refresh your mind. If you let these kind of dark thoughts take over your mind by ruining relations and probably is overspending just because you can feed that perverted desire, then it is an addiction. There's nothing more I can tell you. Just one more thing to mention is that the public version was uploaded on the Funny Number website, which was never supposed to be uploaded, but Vir did it anyway on an alt account claiming that wasn't him, but the E6 staff confirmed it was him. Scalie, well, he just did this for money, but I wouldn't accept a commission like that for 1k since it isn't really worth it. But I'm gonna be honest, if someone offered me like 10k euros, I think I would honestly accept. I know some will be angry with that statement, but listen, I would want the victim I want to do this drawing because he offered me like 10k because, you know, I would like to have that money, but I would like to make some kind of deal with the victim by splitting the money like 50-50 or something, and only not draw it if the victim completely refuses. So whatever I try to convince the victim in the end, since then we both know about it, it could be a win-win for us both, and I can't really be blamed for it. In the end, Scalie didn't do the smartest thing in his life, and it also feels disrespectful he's still with Vir. It is not a good look, I can tell you. When it comes to this topic, this is what I think is the most damaging to the furry fandom reputation. What I can summarize is that, yes, the fandom has a problem with zoo stuff, but overall it is not tolerated, because if you get yourself exposed as one, furries will not forget you are one. Your career in the fandom is basically over. I don't think furries need to prove themselves over and over again with cases like these, that most furries react very negatively. Although, to be honest, what did you expect? When there's a fandom about animal related things that also have sexual themes, it is going to attract these degenerates. That is just how it's going to be. The moment a fandom came to existence, they were already going to be doomed to be cursed with these people. It is not rocket science to tell someone animal related fandom equals more zoo. It is like saying a psychopath is more likely to commit a crime, or a depressed person is more likely to commit game over, because it makes sense. Another example is an adult person that is part of a fandom that is mainly targeted for a younger audience is going to be more likely to be a PDF. So you may ask now, how many people in the fandom are zoos? Well, I don't know. There have been notable surveys that have asked this question, but there are problems with this. The first one is from 2008 to 2012. It's made by someone called Kilsura that doesn't provide where they got their information from and how. I didn't find any archive sources anywhere that would prove these surveys as credible sources. Then we have two old ones that is dramatically different from each other. One claims 2% made 2001 and the other claims 17% 2008. They are both credible sources and do state where they got the information from, but the problem with these two is that they are old and it doesn't help either. It was answered by a small number of people. A lot have changed during that time. Then there was one that reported non-zero attraction towards animals, which is really vague, and what is that even supposed to mean? Anyway, so it just leaves two surveys left, I think, relevant and credible sources. Well, kind of. First things asked the mainly furries from conventions doesn't specify how many from each one, and it is important to point out that most furries don't go to conventions, which I think would be quite different if asking someone in a convention than online. So they asked the question about the kinks and fetishes, which 6.9% said they are zoos, but it does rank zoo as last place. Then we have What Are Furries that claim zoo are 13.3%. You can actually go to their survey website and answer it now if you want, and the survey majority responded that they don't like zoos. But worryingly, significant people said they like it. But as for fur science, it was the question that got the most negative answers. But I have to mention, I don't really trust these surveys, especially a public one which anyone could answer. Public surveys can easily be manipulated or falsified by the wrong people. And then fur science legitimately probably only asked the actual furries, which is good, but the problem is that the sample they have taken is too small. The fandom is not a small community of people. We are talking about millions of people. And these surveys are also very American-centric. But seriously, you American needs to learn the entire world is not the USA. But what about if the fandom has like 13% zoo in the fandom? Well, if that is the case, that is a very scary fact, and I hope that isn't true, because I have it hard to believe since it doesn't feel like the fandom has that many. But if it is true, it is 13%. Wouldn't we in the fandom feel quite significant impact of that many people? And wouldn't people get exposed a lot more often combined with internal issues? Wouldn't these very infamous channels have more subs than they actually has? So I have a theory in case this is true. The ones classified as zoos are that most of them do not commit acts with animals because they know it is wrong, even though they have these urges and feelings. And if that is the case, that will make sense to some degree. But I think Fur Science is talking about the truth more than anyone else here. But from my experience, I would say like it is between 3 to 8%, and I really doubt it is higher or lower than that. But I would be surprised if my estimation was wrong. You may say I have a bias hoping that is not the case. Sure, you can say that, but I think many people who are part of the fandom can agree on this that it doesn't feel accurate. Also, at the same time, people have different definitions of what a C-file is, which could be much more broad for some people. You may even say all furries, including me, are zoos, which I would strongly disagree with. But for me, I won't call someone a zoo or PDF so long they don't support, do, or watch the real stuff, even though how borderline and disgusting I think the art is. The reason I say this is that we have to go to double standard territory then, which could lead to like I call a person that thing, but I didn't call the other person that thing. It is just to play safe without unnecessarily broadening words many people don't agree with. It is like someone draws a picture of someone game over someone, and then that person has the same label with an actual person that game over people. Although I also need to be serious about one thing. If any of you watch me right now is a zoo and has attraction to real life animals, you people need help now, and go get help. Do not try to argue with me or anyone else, and especially don't dare support it. It is an argument you can't win. It is immorally wrong. There's not a single factual or logical reason to support it or even be neutral about it. The only thing you would do is hurt yourself and the animal that can't consent. And what you are doing is just... But I doubt any of these people are going to watch this video anyway. And even if they do, I probably haven't changed their mind. But if I at least manage to convince one person, well, at least I have done something. But you may ask, like, what could we do to stop zoo stuff in the furry fandom? We can't. As I said in the beginning, the furry fandom is going to be forever cursed with this problem, because it makes sense they would be attracted to this community. Especially with a fandom this big, it is unfeasible to enforce. But what we could do is to be even harsher than we already are. If you really care for this cause, you can advocate for more countries to ban zoo stuff. If you live in any of these countries or states that still allow zoo degeneracy, more countries that ban it, the better it will be for everyone. If governments see there are many people who want zoo stuff to be banned, you can be certain almost 100% they going to do it, since it is seen as an overwhelmingly negative thing. You may ask now, like, how come these countries still allow it? How has it not been banned sooner? Well, the thing is that it has to do with something that most countries have no laws about it. Not the case it is legal on paper. It is just that if someone gets caught for it, there's nothing they can sentence him or her for, since there's no laws about to be. So how do you sentence someone that has committed a crime that is not on the law books? But wait, actually let it be legal in one country actually. Let it be legal in North Korea. All these zoos can come together and live peacefully. North Korea is the perfect destination for the ideal paradise. I also made a report on FA, 3 people that have expressed support for zoo stuff I found. It took quite a while to find them, but I wanted to test if what Dragon has said in the past is still true after his end. And rest in peace, by the way, since I think this argument was quite dumb. So what I sent for evidence to the Fur Affinity staff is so obvious, and especially on this guy, so did I ban them? Oh. Okay, to mention, these accounts have existed for years, and somehow have existed on the platform for this long. I don't know if it has to do with I was the first person to report these people, or it has to do with Dragon who was in charge. They ignored these reports, and after his end, the new administration team changed it, and I was the first to report it then. But regardless, thank you for banning these people. It was also funny to lurk inside this guy's telegram mentioning about his ban on FA, and I scroll down and some give advice to appeal it, and then he mentions he is. Wow, what a great defense, man. It reminds me of that goofy trial video.
But I did!
So to conclude it all, yes, furries have a zoo problem because this is the place that makes sense for them to be in, because where else would you imagine to be? But they are really hated by furries, a very strong majority despise them. So if you are furry, anti-furry, or just a normal person that's curious about this, the best thing we could do for all of us, it is to make it as difficult as possible for zoos and speak with logic and facts with them why it is bad. That is honestly the best we can do. And if you're an anti-furry watching this, target these people. Not random furries you have seen on the internet. You're not helping anyone by being toxic on the internet. You're not changing anything either. If you want to make the world a better place, you know what to do. But I will come to these people later. When it comes to this section of the video, I want you to take it with a grain of salt. I would like to know if anyone else feels the same as me or can relate to or understand what I'm trying to say. Furries are notoriously NSFW. It is no secret really. It is one of the biggest part of the entire fandom. And if anyone is trying to claim that the majority is not into NSFW, they are lying or naive. But I do agree that it doesn't have to be NSFW. It can be totally safe for work if you want. Just keep in mind, if you're not involved in any kind of way, you're quite the minority. But hey, I applaud you. I also do think the fandom would still be this big even if you remove that part. I believe the reason why is because people create an OC which they associate with, or create a character that represents them on the internet, or just do it for other various reasons. It is a way for them to express themselves and interests, and others go further where they identify they are that creature or as fully non-human even. These people are known as Otherkin or Therian.
On all levels except physical, I am a wolf.
And for those that don't know about it in the furry fandom, it is quite common for people to use their character to do art with other characters doing things. And you probably know what I mean by doing things. It is a way for people in the fandom to fulfill their desires, best way I can say it. And the reason for that can vary from if they have a romantic relationship, or being good friends, or just simply feeling turned on and doing it with strangers just because the character looks good. And I do not recommend you have art with strangers. I will come to that later. In this part I will not talk about about real life interactions, like people doing freaky stuff at convention hotels or their homes with their suits on or anything like that. Whatever these people do privately is not my concern. I do not have a problem if you want to partake in these activities, just do you know. This will be a completely different topic by itself since I don't know much about it and I don't really care about it. I have heard some stories, but it is one of the least concerns for me. Wow, people are boinging each other. It is so offensive. What I will talk about is mainly focus on the art. That is the R34 or their own zonas and characters. But you may expect now I will be anti or something. No, that is not what I'm going to do. I'm neutral about it. But I do believe it can become an unhealthy addiction that could lead you down a path of laziness, isolation, aggression, perversion, depression, obsession, and the worst case really screw with your brain. I'm going to say my own personal opinion, which I think you should take into consideration. So if you are a person that is contributing to society, that has a job or college, that you're doing fine in your life, have a healthy relationship with family and friends, and be able to do your weekly chores and just overall mentally feel good about your life, and is consuming corn in moderation, then I don't have anything to say. I just want you to be mindful to not go down a path that could change you for the worse. But even in moderation, I say with quotes, you will not know if you can handle something in moderation until you try it. It could eventually lead down the line to become an addiction, because the same can be said about alcohol. It is alright to drink in moderation, like you only do it in parties, or drink some wine at a fancy restaurant from time to time, or eat unhealthy food like a juicy burger in moderation. But for some, they just become completely obsessed to an unhealthy degree really fast that just ends up destroying their lives, and can do just that. It doesn't really matter if it's real life or drawn. So why am I bringing this up? Well, in a fandom that has a very sexual nature, I have seen many do an unnecessarily amount of NSFW artwork. I have to ask those people, do you even need this much naughty art of your Fursona? Aren't a couple of them enough? Couldn't you have instead spent on your OC in a cool warrior uniform, or a dramatic scene, or something funny or pretty and etc. to build up the personality in a way your character is? If you are a person that have gotten many naughty art of your OC, I would like you to look back at those pictures and think for yourself, was it really worth it? And before some things, no, I'm not saying you should stop doing EOP or having naughty art together with other people, because I understand why. If you're good friends or have an emotional connection, I understand why. It can be a way for you to develop your friendship or even romantically with that person. I would also be very hypocritical if I said that. I also have done art before. It is also quite easy to find pictures of my dragon doing that act, because I do that with people I have good relations with. But I'm talking about pictures that are presenting your character as a naughty object. Is that what you really want your OC to be? Is it a couple of them enough? And if any of your first reaction was to search for my dragon's NSFW pictures, I can already tell you, then you are probably addicted. And that is an example of someone being addicted. If you did search for these pictures, and whatever your reason was, I won't blame you. It is okay. For like a year ago, it was probably the moment in my life I was closest to addiction, or maybe even was addicted to back then. I wouldn't have a problem doing art with strangers so long as I find them to be a decent person, which I luckily never did. I also did many solo NSFW pieces, which was a waste. The reason I did that was because I wanted attention and self-gratification. You may ask, wait, that is not really a good reason. Yes, I agree, I don't do it anymore. There's no reason for me to have more inappropriate pictures for my dragon, you know. It just doesn't feel like what my dragon character would do either. And I know many do that because they either want attention for the appeal, or it is self-gratification, or a combination of both. And I'm quite certain there are people that can relate to this. But if you do want to do naughty art with your character, please think about it first. And if you have many already, I think you shouldn't get more. But if you do it with other people's characters, please form some connection before you do. Try to simply talk with each other about something interesting, or play a game together or anything. And do some research about the individual, because it will be more satisfying to have found someone you have something in common and a friendly relation with, to have a new friend or maybe even a potential romantic partner even. And you may say now, hey, you are just being demisexual. Sure, you can tell me that, but I think there is some truth to that, because if it would turn out that person you just did naughty art with would turn out is someone you have nothing in common with, or maybe even is a bad person, wouldn't that make you feel bad or regret that you just had an art piece with your character forever stained with and a waste? And if you for some reason don't, well, at least I think it could make you look bad. Just look at this person's profile as an example, which has so much of it, and I just think that couldn't you use all this money for other things instead? When it comes to this excessive amount, at that point it just feels like a waste. In the end, I'm not going to tell you what you should do. If you want to do art with complete strangers and to consume to an unhealthy degree, that is on you. I'm not a qualified person to talk about this. There are people that are much more knowledgeable than me about addiction. You should take this section of the video, as I said before, with a grain of salt. You shouldn't listen to what a random dragon OC has to say about, you know. But I just want to tell these people there are better things to spend on if you feel like you have money to burn. But if you want to know more about addiction, I recommend that you do research by yourself and watch a video about someone that has knowledge about psychology and come up with your own conclusion. I think it is quite an important topic to discuss, especially in a fandom that emphasizes on naughty stuff. If you know a friend that consumes, and not just furry, just in general, I would like you to talk with that person and ask them if it affects them and how they feel about it. But I think we can all agree on that if you think it is appropriate to act or do stuff like these guys, at that point it is a clear sign you have to stop. You have gotten to the point you can't control yourself anymore and need help. These thoughts are really unhealthy. Saying or doing this stuff on the internet is the equivalent of shooting yourself in the foot. But I just wanted to give out my own personal thoughts and feelings about this. If I made you feel like you want to be more cautious or thoughtful, you don't have to thank me for that. Just do what you feel better in life. So I end this with, be careful with something that is addictive. It could generally ruin your life. And that doesn't just go for just addictive things in general. And if you want to avoid addictions, my best advice is don't try to begin with. Sure, addiction is probably quite mild in comparison to other things that are just straight up worse, but if the wrong person tries something, even if it is mild in comparison, it could end badly and change that person forever. So it may seem tempting, but it is not worth potentially risking yourself going down a horrible dark path. Just an extra side note. Before I move on, the furry fandom has a lot of people that have autism. According to First Science interview, over 1000 people, 11.7% have autism, and in comparison, it is estimated that 2% of the entire population have it. And I find it believable. And I also think the real percentage is even higher, because many people are undiagnosed, either because they are already doing good in life, or parents simply don't care about taking them to get them diagnosed. Or you are a girl. And for those that don't know what ASD is, the best way I can say it is that it is a person that was born with a different wired brain from a normal one. Because of that, it leads to a person that processes information differently, which is the case why most people with autism, especially as kids, have difficulty socially and how to act. Many people with ASD, as they grow older, they learn how to act and talk with people, but at a later stage. It could also be a strength, since it could lead to that person have a unique sense of humor or sees things differently you have not thought of before. When it comes to autism in general, people that don't have a lot of knowledge about it, they either think you can't function at all independently in your life, or you are some kind of super genius that's just very socially awkward, or a combination of both. But the thing is, most of us just live normal lives. So what does this have to do with furries? Well, it is just one word. It is hyperfixation. Most people here are really attached to their characters and the fandom, which basically becomes their life and obsession, because for them it feels amazing to be in a place where they feel like they belong to people with similar interests and escape social norms, instead of being in a circle that doesn't have that passion like others have. I'm also going to stop talking about this now, since autism is complicated. There's a reason why it is called a spectrum. If you want to know more, do your own research about it, and I can tell you, even to this day, I can't fully grasp what ASD is. I also apologize, but I don't really want to talk about something I don't really fully understand. Try to do my best research as I could. At the end, better I leave it to the experts, but I just think it was an important thing to bring up. In this section I will talk about that to represent a good pro-furry side and a bad pro-furry. And at the same time I will do the same about the good anti-furry and a bad anti-furry. So let's start with the bad anti-furry. In this part I will just cover the entire anti-furry movement in general and not like a specific individual or anything. I have never looked down this rabbit hole to begin with, since I couldn't care less about stuff like this.
What do you say?
I will only do this once and never care about this again. But to summarize, these people are just simply toxic and or irrational. They harass furries on the internet, and most of these people are just teenagers. Well, I hope at least they are. I'm not saying I'm against edgy humor or anything. As an example, if you have seen Flash Skits animation Furry Apocalypse, where he makes fun of Furry Fandom stereotypes and also over-exaggerates to a ridiculous degree, and what you see is also stereotypically true, this is something you can relate to when you're in the fandom as a furry. They also added the Black Templars part of the comedy, which are very known to be zealous of their ideology, and it makes sense they would do stuff like this. It was mainly targeted towards people that enjoyed this stuff. We obviously know not everyone is like this, because it was made for fun. They have clearly done their research, and there was no intention to spread hate or misinformation. Most of us can just agree it was made for fun, and even furries enjoyed it. But there's a difference when someone makes stuff like this. What are you even doing? Like seriously, ask yourself, what are you even doing? Making memes or jokes about this kind of stuff. Would you make this kind of jokes to specific religions, cultures or different fandoms? No, I don't think you would. For these people, they think harassment is fine because that would make people leave the fandom. Huh. Do you people even know that this kind of stuff just create the opposite effect, which leads to furries being more protective and close-minded? When a furry sees this, they are not going to care, and they create a negative first impression, and whatever chance you people had to convince this furry to leave is already gone. Not only that, it creates a bad reputation for anti-furries themselves, which I have seen there are many non-furries as well that have expressed criticism against the anti-furries. What is so fancy for you to hate when the entire concept of the fandom is like an anthropomorphic characters? Well, most of them. Everyone is going to take that to different levels. Why not target these people instead who really deserves it? Because there are no good maps or zoos, because it is immoral from the core. There is plenty of room for you to target them. And instead, why not team up with furries instead and go after these people? Because there are many furries that are eager to help. And imagine how much good you guys could do if you teamed up to help fight against these people, instead of going to harass a random furry you know nothing about. And even when there are furries that are showing interest, they dismiss them completely, because anti-furries rather want the furries to stop completely existing. I can tell you that is never going to happen so long anthropomorphism you know what, fucking screw it, and fantasy exists. If you continue down this path, you're not helping anyone, you're not changing anything, and most furries just won't even care to begin with. And why would they? Would you listen to someone doing stuff like this to you? Of course not. You may say no, like they are just jokes. Then I'm sorry. Again, most people wouldn't make jokes like this about specific cultures, religion, or even race to kill someone or to die. Because tell me, how is that any different? It is just disturbing that someone is even thinking about it and sharing on the internet and saying they are just jokes. But I also have to say, some of the jokes are good, okay? Not all of them is bad.
What's going on? There's so much.
It is just the extreme ones I'm concerned over. It is one thing when it's just someone's drawn OC because it is not real, but an actual person is where I draw the line. If you want to make stuff like this, either we can do this on everyone equally or no one at all. The exception is only really horrible people because we don't care about them. Other than that, I don't wish this on anyone, or not even going to joke about it on someone. And some people are going to take this seriously, especially the younger they are. Imagine replacing this furry with a normal person. Everyone will see you as deranged. I've not seen a single video that has at least a decency that clarifies it is just a joke and not to go harass people. These people are spreading an idea to think it is okay to harass and hate people. The entire concept is liking anthropomorphic characters and twisting people's mind to something else. I'm going to show you a comparison of a video from Halo guy, Anti-Furry meme, and that is a fan of Halo, probably. I will show him what I call an anti-Halo meme to show you how ridiculous both look like in comparison.
Didn't even get to cross. Yourself now. Yourself now. And you're like for nothing. And you some zero.
You see see what I mean. Imagine you do something you simply enjoy with other people you have in common, and then meanwhile there are people in the distance harassing you for even the safe and innocent things you do. I don't think Mr. Halo guy would like someone to make a video like this about Halo and try to generalize the entire community like this by cherry picking the most cringy and worst aspects of it. If you see a problem that is bad, then think of something and try to help the community or individual in the fandom. Again, the core concept of the fandom is not bad, it is the people. Some are good, some are bad. That is how it's always going to be everywhere. And I have also seen straight up fucking homophobic hate. Why are you anti-furries including the LGBT in this? You people are supposed to unite for one common cause, not unnecessarily create more enemies that are irrelevant. There is no reason for including the LGBT in this. Like seriously, there are so much better things we could do, and instead for these people being respectful and trying to be helpful, change their community for the better, they think it is a rather good idea to do stuff like this. It is a shame, because there could have been so much potential for an anti-furry movement to improve the fandom, like help the fandom organize a protest of a certain issue or help spread awareness people need to know. Instead, it is just disappointing. Thank you for doing nothing. But keep in mind, that doesn't mean you're not allowed to criticize the fandom, because criticism is always good. There are a lot you can criticize the fandom of, and that is something we exactly need. Just keep in mind to be mindful and make sure facts and sources are correct. Now I will just move to the next section, which I represent as a good anti-furry side. A good anti-furry is someone that has done their research and criticized the fandom, of course without the harassing part. So I will start talking about some YouTubers I consider as a good anti-furry. Jax has made some couple of videos that go over the problem in the fandom. Some are better than others. He's not 100% perfect, but I don't think anyone really is, including myself. So one video I particularly recommend you to watch was a video he made pretending being a 15-year-old furry on Twitter. And yeah, the title of the video, I think you can understand what happened. I think it was a well-made video. It goes over a problem with adults trying to take advantage of someone that is underage. Even though most people reacted negatively to this account, it was still creepy that adults even tried to approach him. But just one thing to mention is that I don't know how it would be in other fandoms if you try to do the same thing with them. It could be more of a general problem than a furry one, could also turn out to be worse or not, but regardless, it is still worth checking out. Archive the Wolf is a channel you should check out if you're interested in the Kiro case. As the irony of the name, she's literally an archive of the entire suicide case. Even though she's a furry, she has never said anything good about the fandom as a whole, which is why I include her as an anti-furry. She is clearly taking it seriously and created these accounts and did this for one purpose. She's a very good baseline to look at for the Kiro case, and I can't recommend anyone other individual that had this deep knowledge of this entire thing. I find it interesting that despite this success she had, there was no interest in covering anything else. Most people at that point would try to cover something new to grow an audience. She had the potential, but decided not to. Other than that, I don't have anything specific I can recommend. There are many commentary YouTubers that are quite similar to each other that have covered many types of deviants, furries in the fandom. And I would call them anti-furries, since these are just people who cover drama from what we already know, and those videos will get clicks from people that have not heard about it. There's no deep dive of investigation or very opinionated or anything, but I can recommend some of these channels, which are FFI, Lanza, Legovert, and Turkey Tom. You could watch Freddy Knudsen about furries, but that is mainly a documentary rather than anything related to controversy. So, moving on to bad pro furries. Well, the bad pro furries are those that say it is not essential or something like there's nothing wrong with being a furry. The thing is that, yeah, there's nothing wrong about it, but it has become very sexualized as part of the culture of the fandom, and these people just say things like, bad people are just a minority, which is also true, but too many just don't want to acknowledge that there's a problem. We have a lot of eyes on the fandom, we display this public friendliness, like everyone is welcomed, but it also looks like we have some kind of hidden agenda. Like an argument to bring up, it is quite fair that our furry have 400k members and that our YIF have 500k members, which is quite telling about this fandom. I don't have a problem with it, it is when you want to publicly display it where it doesn't belong. Like look at Furry Ariel, you scroll down and you find a post like this. Why is this even allowed to be posted? You literally stated that this is a safe workplace and also state this is for all ages. No, it isn't. Not when you allow stuff like this. Anyone underage could literally search for this and quickly discover what this website is. And they also allow these links to be posted as comments and people are upvoting them. Many people argue that most people under age 18 have been exposed to this anyway on the internet and that parents are the ones to take responsibility for the child, which I agree with. But this doesn't mean we need to expose this to even more people people less than 18, because it is not good to consume this stuff when being that young. It really affects your brain and can become a bad addiction and hypersexuality. Do not post, promote or idolize these websites in any way as part of the culture. It just doesn't look good when you do. Separate these things as part of the fandom where it belongs. They can still be talked about publicly in a more informative way, but this is not the way to do it. And also strongly discourage people under 18 from visiting them. Can we all agree on that? And before someone is going to say something, yes, I'm aware that weeps are also degens like us, and they are not the only ones either, but that doesn't excuse us for this behavior. This one was the hardest to talk about, because where should we draw the line? Because I don't want to be that boring guy that wants to stop people from doing naughty jokes. And at the same time, I don't want people underage to get exposed to this content. When we talk about the minors on the internet, it is a very inconvenient place for them to be on, and how easy it is to get exposed and manipulated to this stuff. As an advice for everyone watching, please be kind and guide them away from this stuff until they get older. It will make them grow up healthier, and they may also appreciate it when they get older enough to understand. So I end this with all the problems you have seen in the fandom I have mentioned in this video. Please embrace the problems in the fandom and openly talk about it and acknowledge it. It gives us a much better outside perspective and that we are willing to improve. I do get it if you don't want to get involved. I assume that most people don't want either, but at least think of what you do. As an example, don't post inappropriate posts or links where it shouldn't be, or don't act sexual as one of the first things you do with new people, or maybe don't dress up as a furry you shouldn't be. Don't make crop pictures of youth to attract an audience. Most people that click on this are not adults. I will just quickly comment on this before I am seen as a hypocrite. It depends. If you are making an informal video with a message and your audience is mature, I think that is fine, but these channels are obviously not a mature audience and are just cropped with nothing else added to it. But whatever you do, never go as slow as these people. And that was not a joke, just don't do it. Also, one last thing to mention is that both bad anti-furries and bad pro-furries have a lot of problems to mention. But the thing is that it would be a video for itself, so I just went over the main points of the problems on both sides. What I just really want is that anti-furries, instead of having an unrealistic idea and also a very toxic one, to move instead of being respectfully critical and help the fandom to improve. And pro-furries, instead of being toxic and wasting money on goon stuff that they may actually not need, to move on help furry projects and the creative side. By doing so, it will be a win-win for everyone. Do I think this will happen? Probably not. Unfortunately, most people in this world are quite narrow-minded. I don't see these two would ever come together on anything, even if it would benefit them both. Well, except one thing. And for the last spot, good pro-furries. First to mention are just the amazing artists. Regardless of where you are from or beliefs, there's no denying how much effort and time has been put on here. The amount of effort and work in this is just impressive. The quality of this stuff, from safe work to even controversially naughty stuff, is just amazing how well done it is. I just want to applaud all that are making the identity of this fandom exist, from drawings, content creation, video games, music, fursuits and other things. You are all doing great. Regardless of how bad you feel about your skills compared to others, you are still great. And just a reminder to everyone, whatever your interests are in life, remember that it's never too late to make it a reality. And whatever your passion is, I will be sharing for you and wish you good luck. I just wanted this to end on a good note. Despite all the bad things in the world, there's always a light in the void of darkness. And in that light, I have found people in the fandom that have been really nice people, and all of those good people and friends I've met, I just want to say thank you for everything. And I also want you to tell those you care for how much you appreciate them to have in your life and how important they have been for you. So to end all this, the Furry Fandom is always going to have bad people, regardless of what they do. For being one of the largest fandom on the internet, there's going to be a lot of tension in it, both good and bad, and that is how it is going to be everywhere. And this fandom has rapidly been growing for years, and it doesn't look to stop yet. And whatever that means for the internet, or the world even, well, time will tell. They might maybe one day reach a mainstream level of popularity like anime now, or they may fall in popularity like emos did in the 2000s, which both look unlikely in the near future. But whatever the future will be, furries have already gone down in history as one of the weirdest and unique counterculture in the world, and it won't be be forgotten either. Imagine what people 1000 years later would think of them, or they ironically may even still be around then. So to end this off, even if you don't like them, there are things to appreciate about them. Yes, even how cringe, weird, disgusting they are for you. They have brought something new to this world to learn culturally and psychologically about furries. Since if you think about it, it can be used for research about how such a phenomenon even happened. It is a rare for a fandom to get big in the first place, and it is even rarer that an unorthodox fandom like this gets so big. Well, to end this off, if you like this video, consider subscribing, liking and commenting down the video. For a small channel like mine, it would be appreciated. My dream for this year is reaching 1k subs. If I reach that, I would be very happy. But if this video gets a lot of attention and comments, I may do a follow-up video to answer questions, to clear things off I didn't include, mainly because of the length of the video. Anyway, thank you for watching the video and have a good day too.